Well, good afternoon. My name is James Mejia, and I'd like to serve as your next mayor. And let me tell you why. We're in some difficult economic times right now, and I believe it's my experience in city government and in nonprofit that can help lead us out of those difficult times. And I also believe it's a track record of collaboration, because it's going to take all of us to solve this issue with regard to education. It's going to take all of us on the issue of putting Denverites back to work and keeping Denverites in their homes to stem the foreclosures. But when we talk about balancing the budget, and when we talk about difficult economic times, we also need to have the conversation about investing in our future. And in 1983, when I walked through these hallways of East High School and eventually graduated in 1985, I remember a young man who at the age of 36 challenged all of us to imagine a great city. And it was Federico Pena who said that we cannot cut our way to prosperity. We also need to invest in our city. Well, folks, we're at a similar time where, yes, we have difficult budget times, but we need to envision the Denver that we always want to call home. And my family knows something about sacrifice, hard work, and the high expectations that it's going to take to get us out of this time. For a mother who grew up picking beets in the fields of northern Colorado, being the only one in her family to graduate from college, to go to college, and a father who was the only one in his family to go to college, one generation later, they made sure that all 13 of their children made it to college, 12 of them through these hallways. So folks, we know that this can be done. We know that it will take high expectations, it will take hard work, and it will take sacrifice, but together we can do it. My name is James Mejia, and I ask for your support. My short answer is yes. I would support a ranking of schools. I think whenever you look at schools, you need to look at the microcosm of how children are doing in schools. There's been far too much conversation about the school building themselves and far too little conversation about whether or not students are achieving at a high level. And let's get away from the politics of when you rank those schools, who gets hammered and who has a difficult time with helping students achieve higher. Let's change the paradigm. And when we look at something like 191, or whether we look at accountability, let's have another conversation, because that's only one part of the conversation. Let's make sure that the other part of the conversation is providing the tools and resources for teachers in every classroom to make sure they can get the job done. And so while we do need more accountability, we need more resources. And until we're a much higher rank than 48th out of the country in terms of resources for teachers, we're not doing a good enough job in making sure resources are getting into the classroom. And I also want to address whether we are looking at one model or another in terms of ranking the schools. So let's not confuse a rank with whether a charter is a good model or whether a neighborhood school is a good model. When you look at the School of Science and Technology, a charter school, and they're graduating 100% of their kids and sending them to college, we all better say that's a good model that should be replicated in the district. But when we're also looking at Beach Court Elementary, which as a neighborhood school had the highest growth in CSAPs of any school in the entire state, we also better recognize that that's a great model that needs to be replicated all throughout the city. So yes, let's rank, but let's be fair about it. Let's make sure that the resources are there to give teachers the tools they need to excel in the classroom, and let's focus the conversation on high student achievement. Thank you. Absolutely. Yes. When we look at the quality of education in this city, we can't rest until a world-class city has a world-class education system. And when you consider that 7% of kids graduating from West and North graduate ready for the next step, ready for college, without remediation, we're not doing a good enough job. Very specifically, we know what the equation is in terms of better achievement for our kids, and we're scared or timid to talk about some of them. We're not having a strong enough conversation about parental responsibility. We're not having a conversation about parents not being willing to take up the mantle as the first of their children's teachers and always the advocate for their children. So let's start talking about parents here. Let's also start talking about the resources for teachers in the classroom. And yes, we've had a good conversation about accountability. And yes, I believe in more accountability. But we have got to make sure that teachers have the tools that they need in the classroom when that door closes. And let's make sure that we have leaders at the principalship of all of our high schools that are academic teachers and academic guides for the teachers in the building. And so if we look at what's effective, and again, when the door closes, it's a teacher with a classroom of children. And when that door closes, we need to be confident that that teacher has the tools, but also the training and the guidance to do the good job. That principal should be the guide, and that principal should be working one-on-one with teachers when they need help. We should be looking outside the school when teachers need further training and further resources. And so the formula is not a mystery. We need to start applying that formula, and we need to be willing to start having some of those difficult conversations. There are three elements of creating a more vibrant downtown that were missing. Several years ago, we addressed one of them. When I was manager of Parks and Recreation, we built the playground downtown right off of Spear. The second piece is a grocery store, which is currently being planned in downtown with the Downtown Denver Partnership looking into plans for bringing in a grocery store. The third element is a school. It's an elementary school. And I think it should start in preschool and go all the way through 8th grade. Currently, there's not enough density to support something beyond that, but we need to have a place for children who, if they start in the early grades, have a place to go all the way through middle school. So absolutely support those three elements in creating more residents downtown, more density downtown, and a more vibrant downtown. When I think about all the comments tonight, I think we've heard some very good ideas. The thing that sticks with me the most is Doug Linkhart's comments about where we make our investment in this city. To me, when Doug talks about spending too much in incarceration, and too much in rehabilitation, too much in remediation, I think he's spot on. I think it's much better and a much more wise investment to start investing in our kids instead of having to pay to repair our broken adults. And so, Doug, I give you a lot of credit for your direction on that. And that's why when I'm elected, Doug, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. Anyway, I admire that direction and would very much like to partner with Doug at some point. Thank you.